Welcome back to the Stuff for Whatever podcast. Your host, B. Quanchi here. Before we get started, I always like to say the best way to support me in the channel is to like, comment, and subscribe, which you can do here on YouTube, follow on Twitter for fun tweets and updates, and also on Twitch to catch me streaming games. Those game streams do get uploaded as VODs right here on the YouTube channel, B. Quanchi, on social medias I'm on, and links for that in the description of the videos about my channel, so it's not too hard to find. If you don't mind, give me a little follow, boost my ego a little bit, what little ego I have. So we have a very special podcast this week. And first off, I want to follow up something I thought about last week's podcast. I know this is me just like talking out loud, like a crazy person or whatever. I was talking about the idea of shopping cart theory, and just to sum it up, like how you can judge a person's character if they are like, when they're going grocery shopping and they have to load the groceries and put the cart away into the cart corral. If they do it, it's a good person. If they don't, it's a bad person. And some of the stuff about it seems kind of silly. That's why I kind of like to talk about it, like, because like the thing about it is that there's no like laws or consequences for not returning your cart, but it's like says if you don't, you're like an animal or a menace to society. And one argument I thought of, because it's one of the stupid things, like a day after I can be in the shower like, ooh, I could have said that or whatever, even though again it's just me talking to myself for the most part, just a little microphone in front of me. But also the tidbit that I don't think gets discussed in shopping cart theory is, what about homeless people who take shopping carts and they use it to hold all their stuff, like all their belongings, because that's what they have. Because obviously if they're using the shopping cart for themselves, away from the grocery store that they came from, like, does that mean they're a bad person, they're a menace to society, or whatever? Because also kind of look at the aspect of it, like, I guess it can be kind of annoying, like, losing a shopping cart or whatever if you're, like, the business, but kind of looking through the lens or point of view from the homeless person, like, they have nothing, and that's, like, all they can think of, because what literally you can hang on to, like, clothes or what have you, like if a shopping cart really is going to benefit you in that way, or you don't know what to do, or I don't know. How do I even have that fear? Like, I can't imagine being in that situation of like, hey, all I have with me is this shopping cart of my stuff, and I don't know where I'm going next, kind of stuff. So that's like almost terrifying and stuff. But like, would you judge a homeless person with a shopping cart, like, hey, you didn't return it to the shopping corral, so you're a terrible person. I'm going to take that from you. And I can't imagine that, but it's just kind of like another point of view of that theory, because usually it's kind of like cut and dry, and that's why I thought it was really silly. Like, it's not that a bad person, like, for people who just don't do it, maybe just they find it annoying or inconvenient, or they're lazy or inconsiderate, but like a person who, like, hey, I feel in my unfortunate situation, this is going to really benefit me, and I don't know what else I can do. I don't know, that could be a whole like discussion as well, but I was like, hey, throw that into whenever someone brings up shopping cart theory, like, what about homeless people who you rely on shopping carts to get by in terms of carrying their belongings or whatever. But yeah, this a random thought that I had, kind of a follow-up from last week's podcast. And then one thing I also want to mention, because it was recent, the 4th of July holiday, and I think I hate the holiday now. And this is me just being, I don't know if it sounds like I'm too old. I'm like in my mid-30s, but I don't know, it just feels like annoying, because I remember really enjoying as kids, like we had the fireworks stands and stuff like that. I know they really changed it over the years. They can get at like Walmart or whatever, buy fireworks, and you can get like the big multi-packs. I remember as a kid, it was like a public thing we're going to. We'll get a bunch of fireworks and it's like light them in the street, and some of our neighbors, it would be kind of like a block party kind of thing. And I remember the sparklers too, and some of the cool ones. And also, I'm not sure if anyone else did. I'm pretty sure other people did this, but there was a firework called Piccolo Pete, and they weren't much to them. They're just known for being really loud, like a really loud whistle. And because I remember this from a party, I'm just like unlocking the core memory. But what we would do is like hammer the firework before you light it, and put a bucket over it, and it'll like explode the bucket up in the air. I don't know if that's just like some crazy It sounds redneck, although I didn't have a redneck upbringing. But I don't know. Did any people do that? Like hammer piccolo Pete's and put the bucket on them and watch it explode? Like not really explode, just kind of like propel up. Like kind of fun stuff like that. Besides that, there was always this stupid little snake ones that you would just light up and like cat turds. You remember as a kid, like thinking that was so cool. I also remember the smoke bombs too. That would be like just there would be like a red one, a blue one, a green one. Those are kind of fun. And also the little like I forget what they call it. I think the fireworks stand that I remember going to called them monster snaps, but they're like the little. I think just like a little tiny powder that they have in a little white little thing. It's like almost like a size of a raisin or something. Just throw it on the ground and it pop and stuff like that. Going back to like what I originally said, is like I think now getting older, I just hate 4th of July because I don't really do anything in terms of like going to public displays or anything like that. And I think what makes me hate the holiday more, and again, it has nothing to do with like the origin, like the signing declarations, America and freedom, all that good stuff. It's that I just because fireworks are so accessible. Like when trying to sleep, people will be like lighting them up, and still like this year. I was like trying to go to sleep at 11 o'clock. People lighting up fireworks in an apartment complex. Like I think, I mean, because like my part of the complex is like close to the street as well. So I think that's what he did because I saw some garbage around there. So I think they used like the street. But I just remember hearing like loud bangs and booms and stuff like that. I'm not sure like what the firepower is these days with what you can buy with retail fireworks. But these are like, oh my God, I hate the holiday, especially having 2 dogs too. It's like, I don't know, because I do enjoy fireworks, not like I don't like the displays. Maybe I was spoiled, because I think one of my favorite things, like going to Disneyland, is seeing the Fantasia. What is it called? It's not called Fantasia. Like, I forget. It's a play on the Fantasia. But it had like a really big fireworks show. I remember like Mickey Mouse, and he's summoning fireworks as part of the show. That was so cool. So I think just like how amusement parks usually do it, or like when it's like really done like on a regular basis from a professionals, I guess you can say. Like I enjoy seeing that, and I think that's really cool. But people in my apartment complex lighting big booming fireworks is really annoying. Like, hate it. And maybe also like the spoiled by the Katy Perry video where she shoots fireworks from her tits. So unless Mickey Mouse is summoning fireworks or they're flying out of Katy Perry's tits, I don't care about fireworks. I don't care about the 4th of July. Like, I do miss the good old days, like, being a kid and, like, going to, like, barbecues or block parties or whatever and just getting burgers off the grill, hot dogs and all that. So that's good. I like the old American food, burgers and hot dogs and chips. And funny enough, I know it's like a big barbecue side dish or whatever, potluck side dish, but I don't like any of the salads when it comes to, like, macaroni or potato salads or pasta salads. Like, that's just chips in the burger and the hot dog. Yep. So I don't know if anyone else feels the same when it comes to 4th of July, but I just have to get that out of my head and let's get out there because I don't know again if it's me being old and cranky, but yeah, I don't tired of loud booming noises and these fireworks. So the next thing I wanted to talk about on this podcast is I feel like just taking a break from it, a hiatus from it, and just want to talk about that more because I don't know. It's like I kind of wish it would be more, or at least more successful, because I'm not sure how many people do solo podcasts, just whatever. Because I kind of enjoy some of those podcasts where they just kind of like shoot the shit and talk about whatever. But usually, if you have other people to play off of, it's more entertaining. I'm trying to think of some of the more solo podcasts has like its own theme or focus on a subject and stuff like that. Like I never listened to this one, but I hear the Chris Chan one is a really good one, but it's like, and this is like informational, has like a really like almost like a documentary, but in just audio form. So I don't know, and not that I'm like, oh, it's all about the numbers, it's not like all about the views and all that, but I don't know, it feels like it's more energy than it's worth right now. I think part of it is I just want to have this out there, so because I really love the title when I thought about the Stuff or Whatever podcast. I did remember Google searching it and like making sure and all that, so I don't like create a podcast and realize, oh, someone else had the idea. So I think this is kind of original in a sense that it's a fun title for a podcast, just because it feels very loose and all that. I think what it kind of feels like doing the podcast, like editing it, what little edits I do, is just mostly clean up the audio in terms of gaps of time or stuttering or whatever. I find that kind of like fun too, so I kind of want to talk about that as well. But I feel like the process is like cooking a big Thanksgiving dinner, like a big dinner, and no one comes over, and it's kind of a bummer that no one's around to enjoy what you made, but you still benefit it. Like when it comes to Thanksgiving, like, oh, you have all this awesome food. So I feel like I still benefit from what little traction I get on the podcast. But I feel like some of the benefits, like it feels like I think more about how I articulate or talk or even talk in microphone. I even feel like before I had this weird like conscious like, hey, I'm talking to I talking to a microphone. Because it feels like if you ever work at a call center for customer service, that's where mine went, is that you kind of have that voice when you're talking to like a customer on the phone versus your actual voice. I think sometimes like in the beginning of podcasts or streams or in the outro, I kind of get in that mode a little bit. So it's kind of hard to like break habits, like knowing that, hey, I plan on recording this. I plan on publishing this in a podcast, whatever. Yeah. I think that's just kind of a thing is some part of me like wish it would be bigger, like to have more of a community or interactions. Like I thought it'd be fun, like to have like people is asking questions or advice or all that. Even it had like the idea of doing a like have people call me on Discord and just like talk to them about whatever. Kind of like how like I'm sure it still exists because I'm like thinking about like radio shows, like how radios would have people just call in and stuff like that and talk to the host or whatever. So I thought kind of bring the old school like radio talk show and have people call in. I think maybe is it NPR? I'm thinking about the old informative radio. I think it's NPR. I don't know, but I thought that would be kind of a cool idea, like just have people like actually. Just random people on the internet who just wants to talk or whatever, like not just like, hey, I need advice, or hey, settle this argument, or hey, also kind of like, hey, check this out. Like I think that's also part of my streamings too, is I like hey, check this game out, and I'm gonna get into that too in terms of my streaming. But yeah, it just kind of feel like it's not quite how I like, and this is technically episode 50. I know some of my first episodes are kind of like, because I feel like as I went on, I kind of got like, okay, this works better in terms of audio and all that. So, like I even think it's kind of fun to kind of think about like what I want to talk about. Like it's still kind of a loose stream of consciousness kind of recording, even though it's just me, but. Yeah, I think before I kind of got caught up on like, okay, I'm going to talk about this subject and that subject, and it would either be like video games or TV or movies and stuff like that. So I don't know if I even want to rewatch them. Sometimes I even get tempted because I never really acknowledge the number of the episode, just in case I want to like get rid of delete a bunch of old ones that are just like that's kind of cringe or that just not as good as I would like to be. And I think that's also part like. Because I wanted to also talk about like advice for people who want to create content, whatever it is, online. And I think the most important one is like just do it. I know that's like a common one out there, but also like always look for ways you can improve or to the point, because I think also kind of a big hang up feeling like, okay, if it's not as good as I want it to be, then I don't want to do it. I don't want to put it out there. So I think sometimes just something's better than nothing. But it's seeing like how you want to improve and all that. Because even when we're thinking the idea of the podcast, like it would be kind of stupid to do it by myself. Like I wish I would have like a co-host or something like that. But like and I get stuff out of it too. Like again, I feel like I'm a little bit more better spoken, and I'm definitely going to continue streaming as well. I'm almost tempted to do an extra day of streaming. Although I do work a full-time job, so I don't want to like, burn out on doing stuff. Even though I just like playing video games, but still, people can definitely argue that being a streamer can definitely take effort in just playing video games or whatever. I think that's this part of it. It feels like the podcast is more effort than I'm getting out of it. And I don't know, I think a lot of times when I think about it, because I started the podcast because I got my monetization back from YouTube just because they upped the requirements and I finally met them. And like, okay, might as well do more. And yeah, so we'll see what happens. So definitely taking a break from the podcast because it feels like I record, edit, all that, and then rush to stream. And yeah, but I did also want to give some advice for people, more advice about doing stuff on the internet, more YouTube related. And I think again, just put it out there. I think also don't be afraid to like do different stuff. Like just of course do stuff you care about and all that, but don't feel like, oh, if I'm going to do gaming, that's not going to fit with like commentary. That's not going to fit with a podcast. That's not going to fit. So I feel like having too many eggs in one basket is better than having one egg in 7 baskets or multiple baskets. Because again, like I mentioned with the requirements for YouTube is that you have to meet them. And I think it's like 1,000 subscribers and 400 hours watch time and a rolling 12 months. So you don't want to create like 5 different side channels because it's just going to be spread so thin that you can have content out there. But and again, it's not just like about making money and monetization. But I think this part of me is like that would be kind of cool. Part of me just think with inflation and stuff like that too. Like it would be nice to have a little extra just for doing stuff I care about, and even if it's like talking about games or playing games online and talking about cartoons. So I think also like I want to do more. I felt like sometimes I'm being a little lazy sometimes. So I think just like getting rid of this or putting this on the back burner, I can focus on making other stuff. Even though I think that's what I was also saying. Like I feel like it's kind of using my creative bone a little bit, but I feel like it's not as great as other people out there. But maybe I'll get better, and maybe just people just care what I have to say or what ideas I have. But I guess one piece of advice I want to give is if you do anything game related, definitely edit your videos when you are uploading them. With a YouTube upload, at least, this was focused on YouTube, is that classify it as gaming and put the title of the game. Because I kind of learned this as well. Is that when you do that, it has a little clickable link like, hey, this video has to do with Minecraft, for example. And if they click that, then you can see all videos related to Minecraft. It's kind of like a discovery page, I think they call it. And I think that also helps to get people who not subscribe or like other people who care more about the subject to visit your channel. I don't think they do that much for anything else, like for TV shows or movies or anything like that. Because I know it's like some of my stream VODs, and I have fun like uploading like just gameplay just to have it out there. Some of them perform better, and I think it's just because making sure I classify it. Because I remember when I did the stream for Ape Out, like, wow, this got more views quicker than I thought. I think maybe that was it. So I think if you do anything game related, always make the effort to like put the game title in there where you like, because it like it opens up on YouTube. You don't know too much about it. Is that when you select that, hey, it's a gaming video, it'll let you type in a game. And it's pretty cool as well. Like. To how it's kind of like a big database. It's kind of like as you type out the game title, you can like click it from a list, and I think that's pretty cool. I think I know there's a way you can put like tags, like you put like keywords, like not in the title itself or in the description, but they have tags. I'm not sure how much that helps in terms of YouTube and visibility and all that. But some things I wanted to mention because I see some things with like YouTubers and bigger channels. I kind of wish I can like be consulted and tell them like, hey, you need to do this on your uploads because I see some like don't put the game or list it as a game video. Also, don't take advantage of the social media, like tweet every upload. I do that for the most part. I just don't do that for my stream VODs just because I tweet out when I stream, so it feels kind of weird to the next day, like, hey, here's the VOD. Maybe with Twitter I might do a separate account for just streaming, but I still don't know. That might just be. I think that one thing when you think about like doing a lot, like hey, because I like being like organized, like because even back in the day, I had a game channel that I did quote unquote let's plays. I make this could be Quanchy Gaming and it's gonna be its own thing, but I got rid of that and like But I think the only time you can really make a good side channel or all that. If you have a really big channel in the first place, and then you have a big following that, like, hey, if you launch in that channel, people can like subscribe to that and watch that and all that, and get the because it might maybe even take like a month to get partnership if you create this. Cause I think I'm not sure if YouTube does that, where you can get partnership for an additional channel, or if that channel has to meet those requirements and all that. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about this, taking a break. And again, I might stream more. I'm still on the fence about it. I know streaming this week is going to be a little bit weird because I think last week I had my car in the shop, and this week my roommate has his car getting worked on it, and he also has his schedule changed. So I might still stream 2 nights this week, but it might be a little early or on a Saturday. So I don't know. I think that's also one thing I'm curious of. If I stream an extra day, if that would perform better in terms of getting more attention. And bouncing on what I'm streaming, because I said it before that I don't want to like be like chasing the dragon. I have to play the latest game or what's really popular. But sometimes it's fun to do that. Like sometimes I play like retro indie games, sometimes like old school games. But last week I played Fortnite and Rocket League, and I had a little fun doing that as well. And yeah, we'll just have to see. Because I'm not sure if we're going to like repeat that or anything like that. Because I do enjoy those games. I haven't been much into the season passes or anything. But just kind of like my mantra when it comes to come to online creation is throw spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. And I find it's kind of a weird place. Like I don't get that feedback, like what works, what doesn't, what's enjoyed, and all that. But I'm having fun with it. Like one thing I had to learn with streaming is that maybe just because I'm knowing that I'm being recorded, that I'm broadcasting, even if I don't have an audience, like it's a different experience as playing games by yourself. Like I find that I swear more when I get frustrated and all that, because like when I was playing that game Pom Pom, I do have that also completed on the channel as well. There's a playlist if you check out the main channel page. But I feel like that playing that full game start to finish on stream is a lot different than just playing that game by myself. So I don't. It's almost a little cathartic too, but yeah. So we'll see what happens. I think some of the motivation of just doing this in the first place is just having a hobby. I think having issues with depression or whatever, and not to say like, hey, I'm feeling down about myself. Let me see if I can be popular on the internet, because I think with my age and all that, it's like I don't care about the negative. Not that I get anything really negative, but it's like whatever. Like I'm having fun doing what I want to do, and yeah. So I just let me know, whoever's listening, because I think that's the main thing. Is it's nice to be heard, or at least it's nice to see people care about what you have to say. Like not just that you have an opinion, or just like, hey, we have common interest, or hey, I found out about this game because you played it, or yeah, I agree with that, because I was not the only person who had that thought, like for shopping cart theory or whatever. So I'm just having fun with that. So we'll see, more to come. And I think also, not to say that doing a podcast is a distraction, but I feel like there's been stuff I wanted to make little videos about. And again, with working full-time job, I almost feel like I just want more downtime. And then after you record the podcast and edit it and upload it, and it is fun to like have that like kind of like a hobby, like just like, okay, I care about editing this out, the quality of it, what quality. But I think over time I'm like learning, even though it's just me just flumming around, but oh well. So one thing I also want to talk about on this podcast is addiction. And I don't know if I ever I have kind of a vague memory of like bringing this up on a previous podcast, but I don't know if it's just me, but I kind of have this like weird fear of addiction. And it mostly comes to like hard drugs or anything like that. Like I know people talk about like video games or food or whatever. I mean, just because I have like this weird fear. I don't know if you can call it. I think it's maybe rational when you think about it, but it doesn't like cause me like, oh, I'm not going to drink, because I do drink quite a bit. Not to say I'm an alcoholic, but I do enjoy my mixed drinks and all that. Usually at home, I don't really do bar scenes that much. And like with like marijuana, like I don't really care for it myself, but I really support it, and I just like smoking, so I'm not sure if I ever dip into like the edible version of it. But when I think of like addiction, like the crazy like hard drugs like heroin or meth or crack or whatever, and there's some people that I came across in my life, like not were addicts, but that had issues with being addicted and stuff like that. And I can't. It just like blows my mind when I think about like just like being on drugs all day and not having a job. And I don't know like what happens like if they just like group up with somebody like I don't know if they're like dealing or whatever, because that's like my fear. Like I don't want to get in that position. I'm sure there's a lot like you can't just blame the person, but there's a lot of blame on the substance or whatever. But I can't be in that frame of mind like, hey, I rather stay home high or strung out or whatever instead of going to work or whatever. Because like to me, I said this before in the podcast as well, but I feel like I have a pretty good work ethics, at least like for general. Like, hey, I need to make money. I need to have my consistent income. And it just like blows my mind. I can't imagine sacrificing that just so you can be high or on drugs or whatever. Like, I can't imagine having a week of unpaid work. That like freaks me out as well. Like, I don't want to be in that position that hey, like doing heroin or meth or whatever is really hurting me, not just like physically in terms of like the drug itself, but financially and all that. Because I don't know if it's just me, but sometimes I just have this like mental checklist. Like, when something's like addiction is like a huge problem, like if it prevents me from working, like from regional stuff, like if I rather do this thing, even again, it can include video games, it can include like alcohol too, and all that. But it's like, hey, if I were to do this than work and miss out on income, that's a red flag to me. Or if I'm going to spend more money on this, or if I spend more money on drugs, then being able to pay rent or pay bills, whether it be like credit cards or utilities or whatever. And also, like, if I do that, then I don't know, it just seems crazy to me. I can't get in that mind frame of having that addiction to be a huge priority of your life, to be the more controlling factor. I think that's what kind of scares me in a sense, but it's not like I like avoid everything out there. Like again, I drink and I enjoy alcohol and all that, but I think just having like a mental trick, like if it's hurting me, if it's hurting my finances, if it's hurting my well-being, it'll be home life or even like the physical stuff too. And again, I'm not like a doctor or scientist or whatever to know like all the effects of all that, but I can't imagine like being so like controlled by a substance that like dictates your life that you're making deliberately bad choices. I don't know, it just seems like crazy to me. Like I can't imagine being in that position, but it's another thought I want to get out of my head. Okay, one thing I want to talk about. This is just a dumb thought. Maybe it's helpful too, but I always find like a lot of times like when you work for like a bigger company and stuff like that, you take like a picture for your work badge and all that, and it's like your badge you always have with you, like usually like a landlord or a necklace kind of thing. And I find it so weird that so many people like don't give a shit about their picture. Like, not to be mean, like no tea, no shade, but because sometimes you get to see like that at work, or sometimes like on the screen, like I don't know, how often you see them. But sometimes it's like work badges from coworkers, and it's like it looks like a fucking mugshot. Like it looks like the got arrested for like drug possession or whatever. And I'm just kind of not just like toot my horn, but kind of like proud of mine because I knew like I was going to be taken, so I wore a dress shirt and a tie. You can even see it in the in my work badge. And yeah, that's my advice. If you work for like a big company and you do that, like really care about how you look like in your badge. Because a lot of times, like when you pull up your stuff in like a computer, like with your manager, or whatever, they're gonna see that picture, and like when I have to pull up my picture for whatever reasons, because sometimes things get tracked in terms of doing tasks and this and that or whatever. But I do see like me wearing a nice dress shirt and a tie versus someone who looks like in Florida and just got arrested for like drug possession. So that's my like advice. Like, if you're not gonna get a picture, and I think that also includes like for driver's license and stuff. I think with driver's license, I'm more casual, like wear a t-shirt and all that, but make sure I'm all groomed in terms of facial hair and all that. Although I wish my driver's license picture was a little bit better because I felt like the angle's kind of off it. I don't know. I wish I can have that be like one of those people like. If I was like taking someone's picture, like, hey, make this look good, and Tim's like it's not like a glamour shot, but people can take really bad selfies, and people can take really good selfies or pictures or whatever you want to call it. Because that's one thing too. Like with some like profiles, like on apps, like I don't want to say like hookup apps, but for lack of a better term, like hookup apps. Like when you see someone's profile pictures, like it's like below the chin where they aim the camera and like it looks horrible. Like, aren't you looking at that picture? Like, why do you even like consciously use that for your profile pic? Kind of stuff like that. I think that also goes for like work badges and driver license and all that. But yeah, maybe that's like a helpful like tidbit to hear. So I guess this is gonna wind down the podcast. I guess one note I wanted to mention is I mentioned this on a previous podcast, an older one too, but I do have a secret, and I mentioned that if I ever get to the point where I get 100,000 subscribers and it's brought up again, I'll talk into more detail. But one of my big secrets is that I actually done porn before, and it's I guess kind of a spoiler. It's not like nothing too crazy, too big, but I was surprised that I'm actually on the cover of a DVD. So it's like one of the things like you hear people get famous and stuff in the past, like bites them in the ass, it comes up, and I don't care about that. Like no shame, and it was an interesting experience. And sometimes like I want to talk about it more, but kind of like, hey, follow me, subscribe, boost my numbers, and I don't know. It's just kind of a fun thought. I think I'll bring it up as the last note on the podcast is like, hey, if you want to know the more intimate details of my porn career, like my porn career, subscribe. And again, I'm definitely taking a hiatus. Hiatus, yeah. This is why I'm gonna stop doing the podcast for a little bit. I think that's also kind of a thing you kind of notice when you're talking by yourself so much. Like sometimes you like stumble words at the end. Because I didn't get this earlier, but I said before in the podcast too that I'm more of an introverted person, so it's all like I'm most talkative, and I don't know, it kind of feels like getting out of my comfort zone a little bit. And so taking a hiatus from the podcast, but let me know in the comments. Follow me. I definitely want to bring this back again sometime. I think part of it just because it feels like it's hard to like fill time, and compared to other podcasts, it's a pretty short one as well. Versus if I had more people to play off of, whether it be a co-host or having questions from like Twitter or even have people on Discord and all that. Because I think that'd be fun if I had more like things to lean on in terms of, I guess, content or whatever. So let's see what happens. It's been a fun ride so far. I would like to do it. I might just get like, hey, I just want to talk about stuff, so I might bring it back sooner than I thought. But I think if I can get to a point where I feel like, hey, I want to do this more, but it feels like, I don't know, maybe a few months. I really don't know how long of a break I want to take away from the podcast, just to see like if I feel like there's a big jump, if I feel like something's actually building, then I think I'd bring back the podcast and see how it flourishes, if there's more of a general following. So I think maybe that might be part of it too. But anyways, again, like the best way to support me in the channel is to like, comment, and subscribe. And whether that be on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, shows the main three. I guess I also mentioned I did make a Reddit for the Stuff or Whatever podcast, but I haven't had much with that. I did put the link in the about on the channel because I haven't felt confident about because not really much. I just kind of like wanted the Reddit group name before it's taken, which I don't know. But we'll see what happens, but I think that will do it. So thanks so much for listening, and y'all take care and have a good day. Later.